A gust of wind caught the edge of Nia Carter's hoodie as she stepped through the towering glass doors of Stone Mountain High. Her footsteps made no sound against the glossy white tiles beneath her, the kind that gleamed like they'd never been scuffed by uncertainty. She kept her head low, eyes fixed on the floor, her breath steady and slow, like she was counting seconds before impact. The scent of lavender disinfectant mixed with something colder. Money, privilege, a kind of sterile perfection she had seen before. Around her, the corridors buzzed with the casual rhythm of entitlement. Girls in polished uniforms shared air-kissed laughs. Boys in varsity jackets drummed locker doors like they owned the beat. And from the second floor, someone leaned on the railing, watching her with clinical interest. Chloe Whitmore, Queen of Stonemount, flawless, feared, and within seconds, curious. Nia didn't glance up. She didn't need to. She could feel the gaze like a spotlight trying to burn through her silence. She moved past them all, not because she was invisible, but because she was used to it. The whispers, the assumptions. She had lived them in other schools, other towns. Her mother once told her, "Your silence can be armor or a prison. You choose." Today she wore it like armor. But Chloe wasn't looking for armor. She was looking for cracks. She tilted her head, narrowed her eyes. The girl moved too precisely. Her backpack hugged her spine like it belonged there. Her posture was too straight, too intentional. "New transfer," Chloe said to Mia, not looking away. Mia followed her gaze. "She looks quiet. She looks like a test," Chloe whispered. Mia smirked. "Then fail her." Naya's first class was chemistry. The teacher pointed her to an empty workstation. No one volunteered to partner with her. She didn't ask. She measured liquids in silence, answered questions with precision, and ignored the side-eye glances from across the room. In English, a boy behind her passed a note. "You from Chicago? Is it true you stabbed someone?" She didn't react. She folded the paper in half and slid it into her bag. By lunchtime, the whispers followed her like shadows. "She doesn't talk. She's probably in witness protection." Chloe watched it all unfold from her usual table in the center of the cafeteria. She twirled a grape between her fingers and didn't smile. "She's not folding," she murmured. Mia shrugged. Yet. Chloe's gaze stayed locked on the far corner, where Nia sat alone, eating an apple with slow, deliberate bites, her eyes on a book instead of a screen. "That's not submission," Chloe said. "That's strategy." That night, Nia sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the photo of her mother. The woman's face was mid-laugh, arms wrapped around a younger Nia in a too-large dance costume. "I'm doing what you taught me," Nia whispered. "But it doesn't stop." A knock at the door. Her father stepped in, tall and composed in a worn hoodie, the scent of sage clinging to him. Marcus Carter had once been a professional fighter. Disciplined, measured, unshakable. He sat beside her, his hand resting lightly on her back. "Tough day?" Nia nodded. "Still calm?" "Barely." He gave her a soft smile. "That's enough," she hesitated. "What if I can't hold it together next time?" "Then you center yourself. Control isn't about never breaking. It's knowing exactly when not to." She nodded, eyes misting. I don't want to hurt anyone." "And you won't," he said, "because your strength isn't in your fists. It's in knowing when to use them." The next day it escalated. During third period gym, Nia stood quietly in the back corner of the track field, stretching alone. Chloe watched from the bleachers. Coach Valerie, sharp-eyed and all business, blew her whistle. "Warm-up laps, let's go." Nia began to jog. Her pace was smooth, her breathing steady. Years of training with her dad had made her movements instinctive, almost elegant. Zach, Chloe's close friend and resident golden boy, jogged past her and accidentally bumped her shoulder. She stumbled a step but didn't look up. Tasha followed, muttering, "Watch it, freak." Still, Nia didn't react. From the side, Coach Valerie watched silently, noting the slight change in Nia's jaw tension. She scribbled something on her clipboard. After class, she called out, "Carter?" Nia stopped. "Good form today. You fight?" Nia blinked. "Used to." Coach nodded. "You've got restraint. That's harder than strength." Then she added, But don't confuse peace with permission. Some people mistake silence for surrender. That afternoon, it happened in the cafeteria. Chloe walked slowly toward Nia's table, holding a tray with an open bottle of red fruit punch. Tasha and Mia trailed behind her, grinning. "Hey," Chloe said sweetly, "you dropped something." Then, without waiting, she tilted the bottle. Red liquid spilled across Nia's tray, staining her food, her book, her hoodie. A collective gasp. Phones came up. Nia froze for half a breath. Then she stood, picked up her tray, walked to the trash, disposed of it, returned, sat down, no words. Chloe's smile faltered. She had expected anger, tears, a breakdown, but Nia had given her nothing. Nothing and everything. That night, Nia sat in the dark of her room, the only light coming from the hallway filtering through the open door. Her hoodie still smelled faintly of synthetic fruit. She hadn't scrubbed it yet. She couldn't. Not because she wanted to remember, but because she wasn't sure what to do next. She pulled the hoodie tighter around her, sat cross-legged on the carpet, and stared at the photo of her mother on the nightstand. Her mom had been gone for 3 years, but Nia still imagined her voice like music she could just barely hear under noise. "I held it together," she whispered, "but it's not working. They're not stopping." Her hands clenched into fists, then opened, then clenched again. Marcus stepped into the doorway without knocking. "I made tea," he said. "Chamomile, the kind you pretend not to like." She didn't answer. He sat down next to her, setting the mug down between them. "I know that look," he said gently. "I'm not angry," she lied. "No," he said. "You're hurt, and tired, and done pretending it doesn't get to you." She looked up at him. "I didn't react. I've done everything right. Why does it still feel like I'm losing?" "Because silence only protects you for so long," he said. "Eventually you have to decide what you're really standing for." "I promised I wouldn't hurt anyone." He nodded. "And you haven't. But sometimes standing still while they throw rocks isn't strength, it's just getting bruised." Nia stared at the mug, steam curling toward the ceiling. "What if I can't stop myself once I start?" she asked. Marcus smiled faintly. "Then you do what I taught you. You breathe. You move with purpose. You don't hit first, but you always finish with control." Nia's shoulders dropped just a little. She picked up the tea, took a sip. "Still hate chamomile," she said quietly, but she drank it anyway. The next morning, her locker had a note taped to it, plain white paper, handwritten cursive. "After school, rooftop terrace. Be there, unless you're scared. Let's see if your silence holds up in front of a crowd. CW." By third period, the whispers were everywhere. "Rooftop fight. Chloe's gonna break her. She's gonna finally talk back." Nia didn't say a word, but her hands were steady when she folded the note and slid it into her hoodie pocket. Coach Valerie passed her in the hall after gym and said nothing, but gave her a single look. A look that said, "I see you. I know what's coming." And then quietly, "Choose the moment. Don't let it choose you." The rooftop terrace was built for senior events, prom photos, graduation parties. But today it felt like an arena. Over 30 students crowded near the perimeter, phones clutched like weapons. Chloe stood in the center, her arms crossed, posture perfect, her uniform crisp, hair curled, her eyes sharp. Tasha and Mia stood behind her like shadows. Evan, her twin brother, leaned on the back wall, arms folded, not laughing, just watching. When Nia stepped through the door, the crowd rippled like water. No sound but whispers. She walked slowly, calmly, every step controlled, like choreography only she could hear. She stopped 3 feet from Chloe. "You came," Chloe said, her voice loud enough for the cameras. "Good, I was getting bored." Nia didn't respond. "You've had your little show," Chloe continued, circling her slowly. "Your mystery, your silence. It's cute, really, but you don't belong here. You don't run anything." Still nothing. "Say something," Chloe snapped. "Or is your voice just as fake as the rest of you?" She moved closer. Nia didn't flinch, so Chloe shoved her. Not hard, but enough. Gasps, phones up. Everyone waited for the swing. Instead, Nia stepped back, recentered and breathed. Tasha stepped forward. "Let's see how calm she is now." She raised her hand. In one motion, Nia turned, gripped Tasha's wrist, stepped forward and turned her weight. Tasha stumbled, spun off balance, and hit the ground, not hard but fast. The circle pulled back. Mia froze. Evan took a step forward, then stopped. Chloe's smile twitched. She lunged. Nia didn't hesitate. She caught Chloe's wrist, sidestepped, and guided her down to one knee. Not painful, not violent, just final. And then she spoke. "I didn't come here to win," Nia said. "I came to stop it." She let go. Chloe stayed there, her eyes wide, breath shaky, hands trembling. And then Nia stepped back, turned, and walked through the rooftop doors. No one said a word. Phones dropped. Faces turned. But nobody followed. That night, Chloe didn't go home right after school. She sat alone on the rooftop long after the crowd had dispersed, long after the sun had slipped behind the skyline. Her knees were drawn to her chest, arms wrapped tightly around them. The breeze tugged at her blazer, but she didn't move. She felt cold, not from the weather, but from something deeper, a hollowness settling into her bones. For the first time in her life, she had no words, no comebacks, no plan, no control. The power she had wielded so carefully for years had shattered in a single moment, not from a punch, not from public embarrassment, but from being seen and not feared. She thought about the look on Nia's face, calm, steady, like she had nothing to prove. Chloe hated how much she envied that. At home, she avoided her parents. She skipped dinner. Her phone stayed on silent. She stared at the ceiling, replaying the moment over and over. The hand on her wrist, the soft twist, the ground rushing up beneath her. But what echoed most wasn't the fall. It was Nia's voice. "I didn't come here to win. I came to stop it." And that somehow felt worse than losing. The next morning, Stone Mountain High was different. Not louder, not quieter, just changed. In the hallways, people looked up more. Not everyone, not all the time, but there was less sneering, less forced laughter. The usual gossip buzz was muted, replaced by cautious glances and soft conversations. In homeroom, two girls who never talked to each other shared a worksheet without snide remarks. A boy who usually shoved his way through the hall paused to hold the door. Something had shifted, and everyone felt it. In the cafeteria, Nia walked in holding her tray. She wore a clean black hoodie, headphones around her neck, and a calm expression that didn't ask for attention, but couldn't be ignored. She walked past several tables, nodding once to a junior, who nervously nodded back. She reached her usual table in the back, sat down, ate, no fanfare. But the respect was palpable. It wasn't fear, it wasn't fascination, it was recognition. She had weathered the storm without breaking, and that kind of strength left a mark. At the far end of the cafeteria, Chloe sat alone. Her posture was different now, shoulders rounded, hands in her lap. The girl who once ruled the room now blended into the background she never noticed before. Tasha hadn't spoken to her all morning. Mia changed seats in English class. Even Evan, her brother, her blood, had looked at her with something like disappointment. She stared at her untouched food, trying to block out the noise, but her gaze kept drifting to the girl across the room who had undone her world without ever raising her voice. Then something unexpected happened. Nia stood up, picked up her tray, and walked across the cafeteria. The room noticed immediately. Conversation slowed. Forks paused midair. Chloe looked up. Her heart kicked. Nia stopped at Chloe's table. For a full second, they just looked at each other. No tension, no victory, just silence. And then Nia reached into her hoodie pocket and placed something on the table. A folded napkin. She didn't speak. She just walked away. Chloe stared at it. Her fingers trembled as she reached out and unfolded it. 7 words written in soft, steady handwriting. "You can still choose peace. It's not too late." The cafeteria melted away. Chloe couldn't hear the whispers or the clinking trays. All she could feel was the heat behind her eyes, the sting she had forced down for years, the tears she hadn't let fall since she was 12, and her father told her, "Strong girls don't cry, they lead." But Nia led without cruelty, without performance, without fear. And suddenly, Chloe understood why her power had crumbled. Because it wasn't built on strength, it was built on control. And control, without empathy, was just another form of fear. Later that day, Coach Valerie caught Nia by the lockers. "You okay?" she asked. Nia nodded. "You handled yourself," the coach said. "More than I expected. More than most could." "I didn't want to fight." "I know," Valerie said. "And that's why you won." That afternoon, the skies turned silver. Not stormy, just soft. Spring rain began to fall in light sheets as the students trickled out of the building. Chloe stood under the overhang, clutching her books, watching Nia step out into the rain without a hood, her face tilted slightly to the sky. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't cinematic. It was peaceful. And Chloe realized with a clarity that made her chest ache. That's what power looks like. Not fear, not control, not admiration forged in cruelty, but dignity, self-respect, a quiet refusal to bend. In the weeks that followed, the ripples of that rooftop confrontation didn't vanish. They grew. Students started standing up for one another more. People who used to whisper stopped and asked questions instead. The tension in the school didn't dissolve, but it softened. And as for Chloe, she stayed quiet for a long time. She didn't try to reclaim the crown. She sat in smaller circles. She walked without a crowd. But once, weeks later, she passed Nia in the hallway. Their eyes met. Chloe gave a small nod. Nia returned it. Nothing more. Nothing less. And it was enough. Because sometimes the most powerful change doesn't happen when someone wins. It happens when someone decides they no longer need to. When someone walks through fire and keeps their soul intact. When someone refuses to break and in doing so becomes the thing everyone thought they weren't. Unshakable, respected, and free.